Friends, family, fans, it's your boy, the Model Maniac. Fresh off month end day 2, but we are here. We are ready to party. It is episode 76 of Back 9 Bets. The second annual Back 9. We'll try that again. The second annual Backyard Grillo. We've got our man Grillo on the card. It's the Sanderson Farms Championship. You cannot not play Grillo, especially after he retweeted our tweets last year this time. He's our guy. He was right in the mix, sitting pretty until we got to one of the par fives, and then he made a snowman. So hopefully we can keep the gas cooking. Not going to run out of gas this time and let snow build up enough to build a snowman on a par five. We want to keep cooking with gas, and off we go. It is the Sanderson Farms Championship. It is Back 9 Bets, episode 76, presented to you by rotoballer.com. I want to first thank you all, listeners, readers, Twitter followers, everybody, podcast subscribers, the whole shebang, family, friends, fans across the world. You guys rocked my socks off with the article that I put forward to you, the Ryder Cup research tool. It was 11,000 words. It was a beast, and it was very well received and supported on Twitter and on the website. So I really, really appreciate you guys showing your support to your boy. It was very, very meaningful to me. So thank you so much for that. If you are interested in following any of my premium content, 10% off gets you that kind of situation there. Use code Maniac. And, I also do some free stuff too. So just go check that out if you are not interested in putting your money elsewhere. So that's what's cooking over at Rotoballer. We got Spencer stuff cruising. We've got Joe Nicey stuff as always. We've got our showdown, like my showdown models there behind the paywall. It's really affordable, folks. What's it, $99 without the Maniac code, and then off to go. You use the 10% off, and then it's $90 for the full year. Then you get access to everything that's behind that paywall. In the Discord, you get the showdown models. You get access to Joe Nicey stuff. If you drop the big package, it's $180 at the end of the day, and that includes Spencer stuff too. So, rather do that than go with mine only too. You want to use Spencer stuff too and get all that. It'll give you the stat buffet, which takes this model and breaks it down screenshot by screenshot so you can see it. I've put some value DFS plays out there and, the whole shebang. So you can chat to us in the Discord while we are in there. So we're in there pretty much all the time. So that's what's cooking over there on Back 9 Bets and rotoballer.com. So go check that out. Use code Maniac 10% off, blah, blah, blah. Let's dive into the Sanderson Farms. We want to check out some key stats, some important metrics that we want to roll with here because this golf course is unique. It's a par 72. It's a golf course that we've seen some rando winners come through in the past. So you want to bear that in mind. We don't necessarily have the most random pairings together, but on our card, but we'll get there and kind of explain why we have who we do. Off the bat, you can see distance is a little bit more premium, a little more 2% more important than tour average. Then you get, strokes gained off the tee 3% less than tour average importance. So, it's distance is important, but in general, off the tee, a little bit less important here. You don't necessarily be a premium ball striker off the tee to succeed at this venue. Accuracy, a little less than that, 3% too. Then you also want to look at some strokes gained approach, which is also roughly about 1% less than tour average at this venue. Still 30% of the pie, though, as always, we know approach is king. And then strokes gained around the green, also a little less important by 1%, 18% of the pie as usual. I guess, 19 is usual. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Giving a Zach Johnson tangent there. We'll get into that as well, too. And then strokes gained putting, a little bit more important here. 4% more important correlatory-wise to success than tour average. So 32% of the fraction of the pie goes to putting, 32 approach. But as we know, putting is very volatile. We don't try and overwhelm the model with any putting, but it does prove to be a very handy skill set to have at this venue. If you want to take a look at some proximity metrics that make some essential differences, the key range here is 100 to 175. You're going to see a lot of golf shots come from this range right here. And on average, it's about tour average, So you're going to see, look at this light bulb. This light bulb is flickering above me. If the house starts burning down, it's because I've got an electrical problem. I just took I just took out a light bulb. I just took out the one I thought was flickering already, and now it's another one starting its nonsense. So we'll see what happens. I'm actually just going to turn it off. I'm in the dark now. Have fun with this, folks. We're going to just change it like old school, in the cave here. So anyway, let's get back into what we were talking about. Let's talk about some proximities. As you can see, the average proximity range from 100 to 175 is about the same. About half the shots come from that range. However, 5% more come from 100 to 125 and 4% less come from 150 to 175. And then we've got quite a lot coming from 250 plus. This golf course has got 4 par 5s. It's a par 72. So you can expect that on a course like this. Typically most venues we stop at are par 71s, par 70s, or things like that. So that's what you're going to find at this golf course. It's a pretty lengthy golf course, and we're going to be looking for strokes gained off the tee over 7,200 yards on those kind of golf courses. So that's what's cooking there. Let's take a look at how it's unfolded throughout the years. We see a scoring average that's typically lower than tour average at minus 1.25 on average versus the tour average of only half a stroke beneath par. Course yardage is significantly longer than tour average, about 2% more at 7,268 yards. Driving distance, tour average is 289. We typically see the last few years has been averaging around 294, so 5 yards further than normal. It's got to do with those par 5s, and people don't give a rat's ass about being in the rough. Driving accuracy, about 7% less compared to driving accuracy on tour. And then, the fairway width is going to be a little more narrow, all that jazz, with missed fairway penalties, kind of a little more penal, less penal, more penal, less penal than tour average. Green regulation rates, 3% more than normal. And then penalty strokes, we typically see less penalty strokes around you, not so much water. So that's what's cooking. Let's dive into the model. Let's figure out, whoa, boy, we're all over the place here. We are deep. We're going to be doing some scrolling today, I think. That's what's going to be happening. We aren't necessarily going to be doing too much other nonsense around all of that. But we got some guys we want to talk about. We're going to do some scrolling. We're going to figure out what's going on and see what happens. So we're going to get some top 20 odds over here too. We're going to order this by our favorite golfers. And off we go. So it's been a busy month, and for me, I haven't really had a crack at figuring out what the odds are for all of these guys. So it's going to be a period where we go through it together and try and figure out where we're going to bet top 20, but I do know where we are betting for the winners. At the top of our model, and at $10,300, we have got ourselves Eric Cole. Eric freaking Cole, folks. He's going to be our guy. We went to him last time out at the 40 net, and he didn't quite get it together for us. But, we don't mind him. We don't mind him whatsoever. We can get him at plus 138 over there at Bet Rivers for a top 20. So I think we really like that for a obvious bet. So right off the bat, we're going to go plus 138, Eric Cole to win this tournament, as well as a top 20 for a plus 138 at FanDuel. Now, I know points BetMGM usually brings out some odds. Check them out for ties paid in full. That's pretty clutch. You always want to roll out those if the odds are pretty close to 138 from BetMGM. You can probably go 20 to 30 points less and still take those ties on, because that makes a massive difference compared to halving your odds just by one tie. Your guy sliding from T19 with 2 guys all the way to T21, that can split your odds depending on which book you're going to by half. And then it can give you only a third of your returns if there's 2 guys tied, So T19 with 5 dudes going into the 20s, no dice. That's going to be only a fifth of your return you see. So you want to get those ties involved. Eric Cole is a baller. What do we like about his game? The fact that he's just been playing the best golf out of anyone recently. Flipping hell at the 40 net. We had Eric Cole to win the thing. He led the field in strokes gained approach, or second in strokes gained approach. We could see that coming from a mile away because he's 5th in the field over the last 24 rounds. Guess what? He was the only guy, I think, inside the top, or 1 or 2 guys inside the top 20 that lost strokes putting. He was definitely one of them inside the top 10. So he finished 4th or 5th. Couldn't putt. Just could not get the putter cooking. And guess what? He's actually a really good putter in general. So maybe we get him off of POA, which in hindsight wasn't necessarily his best splits. but we'll really, really like to see what he can get up to on. And these aren't even Poa. This is Bermuda. So we're going to change this. We're kind of rolling on the fly here, friends, but I appreciate your patience. This is the thing, you got to go and support me at rotoballer.com because I can't be a part-time accountant and a part-time content creator for you. It just doesn't work for me, especially at month end. It can cause all sorts of havoc. And then, this is how we go. But anyway, we've got it now looking sexy for you. Look, Bermuda putting much better than the power splits that we had for him last time you checked out the pod. He makes birdies at a pretty elite rate in this field, second with Ludwig Oberg. We'll get to him here shortly. But the bogey avoidance, they're both pretty normal on that front. And then we'll kind of check out what gets up to on these dudes. So the fun part I've added to the model here a little bit. I want to show you guys some interesting stuff I always speak about guys and how they start off strong and then they kind of have a bit of a dud of a performance as the weekend unfolds. If you take a look here, we've got stroke one, strokes gained averages for these guys by round. So you can see exactly what is happening to them as the week unfolds. And as you can see here, Eric Cole starts off pretty nicely. And then on Sundays, things get a little dicey, but not nearly as bad as they get for Ludwig Oberg when it comes to round 3, scoring at 129th in the field. So that's not good at all. But we love what our boy Cole can get up to. 22-1 over there on PointsBet. We rolled him out with a nice, casual, little, beautiful looking Photoshop. So we'll roll out Mr. Cole and see what he can get up to. The traditional house Cole. The guy's on fire. We like what he can do. Look at the strokes gained to the last 50 first. Birdie percentage of the last 50 first. Strokes gained approach, the last 50 fifth. Fourth at the 40 net while losing strokes putting. That's what we just said. And then we're just going to keep cooking with Cole. If we don't cook with gas, we're going to cook with Cole, and he's going to be our guy. So we really like Eric Cole. We don't have any ownership. The industry is sliding behind. I think Rick Rungood's coming from Italy. We've got Data Golf coming all the way from wherever. So it's all over the place. We got not a lot of people helping us out with the industry-wide percentages, but that's okay. We're going to have some fun. I think Eric Cole's going to be a relatively popular player, considering his recent form is incredible. First on easy scoring conditions. Love that about him. And then you can just see, the approach play is fantastic. Strokes gained from 100 to 150, third in this field. And then he's first in this field in strokes gained inside 150 out of the rough. So we know how bad of a driver he is. He typically kind of struggles in that department. So we're going to see a lot of him dominating from the rough, from 150 and in, which typically will happen. Like we mentioned earlier, a lot of shots coming from that range. So we like Eric Cole. We like him in DFS. He's nice and cheap. I think he's going to be a bit more popular than Aubert because he's just cheaper. And I think people are going to be fading Aubert after his Ryder Cup gallivanting. He's probably flying back home now still, or maybe came over on Monday. But all the way to California after a tough emotional week like that, we'll see what he can get up to. As always, I'm a big believer that Aubert is not necessarily going to be getting it done for us over the weekend. So, hopefully he plays that way and we kind of stay off him and dominate. So that's what's cooking. As always, the dogs like to eat their food as well. When I start my podcast, they've had the whole afternoon since freaking 1 o'clock to get their food down their stomach. And yeah, she was busy munching right as the podcast started. But Phoebe's over here. We're having a good time. And next up on the board, we got Ludwig Aubert. Second in the model. His upside ranking is second, while his safety ranking is third, whereas Eric Cole's is first and first. So we love that. We absolutely love that. We're going to hide. You know what? We've got all sorts of interesting stats that I don't typically show you. So just enjoy all of that nonsense. Oberg, we got to figure out how to say his name on this pod at some point. I just cannot get over the fact that it starts with an A and you have to say O. And people have been saying it wrong the whole time. So anyway, he's minus 125, the best odds for a top 20 you can find out there. So not necessarily that thrilled about that, although his top 20 rate is also 22nd, 22% in his 9 starts. So we don't necessarily know how well the guy's going to be playing this week. So at negative odds, we're probably going to give him a skip just in general. But as you can see, just a quick little profile overview of what he gets up to. Off the tee, an absolute beast. Third in the field here over the last 24 rounds. The ball striking, obviously, even with the irons, not nearly as good at 40th. The ball striking total is still fourth. So absolutely dominates those. Plays well on these longer golf courses because of his length. And then he's pretty good from further away. You know, his strokes gained from 100 to 150 is not necessarily the very best. 139th in the field. I don't know why that is the case, but his irons aren't incredible. They get a little shaky under a certain circumstances. So bear that in mind when you're rolling him out there. The putting on Bermuda grass, since he's shown up on tours, better. You know, it's a very small sample size. Makes a ton of birdies as well. He's leading in birdies there and a middle of the pack when it comes to bogey avoidance. His par 5 scoring, don't believe that. I think it's much better than this. There's just no stats for him out there right now. I don't know why the freaking PGA Tour doesn't have his stats in the par 5 scoring page. I probably could go to his profile and find them, but it is what it is. But I want to mention Ludwig Oberg. Round 3 scoring average, strokes gained wise, 129th in this field. No good. 43rd in strokes gained in round 4. So there's just a round on the weekends that he just cannot seem to get going. So he's going to be a fascinating play in Showdown because we're going to absolutely smash him in round 1 and round 2. And if he's right at the top of the leaderboard in round 3, probably going to fade the guy. You know, I think the closer to the top of the board he gets, the less you want to play him. And it makes a lot of sense because we've seen what he can get up to over the weekend. And at minus 125, I don't necessarily feel that enticed to go to the guy in the betting market either. He was the betting favorite for outrights as well. And there's no value there, in my opinion. So we'll scoot on down past him. The same with Steven Yeager. I'm kind of just going to scoot by him in the meantime. We'll explain what he does well real quick and then keep on moving down. But if you take a look at Steven Yeager's situation, top 10 rates for Stevie Yeager's is 5% top 10 rates in 22 starts. He just does not finish inside the top 10. His recent form, great. In this field, 6th in the field, recent form. Ball striking is phenomenal. You know, the putting at a golf course that we just saw, there's more importance on the putting surfaces. You need to get it together. So if you can't struggle, and these greens are freaking fast, boys, girls, they are very fast. So you want to bear that in mind too. I think on fast greens, the bad putters probably struggle a bit more because if you're a bad putter, if you just hit it a fraction too hard, it can just roll out. So you could be a little more tentative than you usually are on fast greens. I don't know if I'm a big fan of him, you know, coming into this week, especially the fact that the putting is going to be very important this week, and we don't necessarily see that from him. So we're kind of leaving him alone, although, you know, the birdie or better rates pretty much okay inside the top 10 for recent form. The bogey avoidance rates are pretty solid. He's a very good ball striker, so you're going to get that from him. And then also the same thing with him in round 4. Look at that. The reason why those top 10s are not there. 56th, Mike Tyson. 56th in round 4 strokes gained averages. Let me take a sip of my Sprite. When the rest of his stats through round 3, the worst one is 15th. You know? So Steven Yeager is a definite fade candidate when it comes to round 4 showdown. The guy just ejects every single time. For as good as he is, it's not that promising. So we'll leave him alone too. You know, the thing is, he's just not going to shine for us. I think Sam Ryder is going to pick up some steam. He's 4th in our model for upside. We love what he can get up to. The guy is a beast when it comes to strokes gained approach. Recently, he's been absolutely dominant. I don't know who's better in this field right now than him. I think we've got some interesting situations here. Nicholas Lindheim and Ches Reavie, of course. So those two guys are the two better golfers in the field on approach than Sam Ryder, but they are way down the board. And old Ches has kind of forgot how to putt. So we'll get to them. But old Ryder, ride or die, he's on our betting card, boys and girls. We love Sam Ryder. We've named a podcast after him. We've named multiple probably after him. So we love Sam Ryder. We love what he can do with his approach play. And the thing that I'm waiting for is for him to resort back to becoming a decent putter. He was leading the PGA Tour for an extended period of time to start off the season. Once we got through the West Coast swing, maybe it was just a power putting, but he even got onto Maybe the Bermuda greens as well helped him a little bit. The the bent grass greens may have been the reason he started losing a bit of jazz. But this guy from 5 to 15 feet is third in this field in baseline. He's seventh putting on Bermuda from the last 50 rounds and 14th from 5 to 15 feet on Bermuda. So there's a lot to like about him. He makes birdies inside the top 15 in the field. The bogey avoidance rate, not necessarily the best, but still pretty solid. So you're getting all of that. The par five scoring's been a little sketchy for him lately, but he tends to play better as the weekend goes on. 29, 36th, 22nd, and then 13th in round four for scoring averages, strokes gained wise. So you love that from him. And the ball striking seems to have completely rectified itself. And Sam Ryder, friends, for a top 20 for Sam Ryder, we're getting a plus 225. Let's plug that into the model. That's going to be a delightful number. You know that's going to be pushing out some serious value, and it is. So plus 225 for Sam Ryder at Bet Rivers. Sign us up for that. And at BetMGM, 50 to 1. We love Sammy on the Ryder, and it's going to be the reason we go to him. 50 to 1 is a very, very affordable price tag for a guy that's an incredibly good ball striker. Take a look at these guys' ankles. He's easily got the best ankles in the game, alongside those painted supermodels that I'm showing you on the TV, on the screen. The guy's a beast. So check out Sam Ryder's stats. He's finished 7th and 14th in 2 of his last 4 starts. His approach game is balling. Strokes gained total is balling because his approach game is balling. His birdie rate's solid and the ankles are nice. 50 to 1. That's a very, very affordable number for a guy that's a top 5 iron player in the field. And we know any given day, the guy can throw it out there and start jiving on the greens. So sign up for Sam Ryder at 50 to 1 and expect him to get better and creep up the leaderboard as the weekend goes on. We are not scared of his weekend performances. So absolutely going to be going to him, see what he can get up to, and off we go. Davis Thompson is 5th in the field. I think that's mainly got to do with the fact that he is an incredible par 5 scorer, as is validated by his first in par 5 scoring year. He's very, very solid when it comes to the first few rounds of a tournament. And then as the weekend goes by, boy, oh boy, does he go from 17th and 15th in round 1 and round 2 to 85th and 125th in strokes gained over the weekend. So not ideal for Davis Thompson. So we'll be potentially leaving him alone, even though the model is suggesting we're going to roll him out 5th for upside. We're going to move on to our next friend, Emiliano Grillo. And even though Davis Thompson is probably going to be a very affordable top 20 number, we just don't trust him. I mean, if you take a look at his top 20 rate, it's 5%. So he's kind of out of place in the model here at $8,200. Sam Ryder, $8,500. That's a very affordable, serious value for a guy that can hit eagles, make holeouts, all those things. You know, the guy is a beast. If you take a look at Sam Ryder's, let's do some eagles thing quickly. Take a quick peek here. Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. No, Sam Ryder's all the way down here. But yeah, he typically does well when it comes to eagles. So I feel like he's very volatile. Things can happen with Sammy. Let's see what he can get up to as the week unfolds at 50 to 1 and plus 225 on points at Bet Rivers for a top 20. Skipping over Davis, going to Emiliano Grillo. 12th for safety, 6th for recent form and upside. So we love that. It means that we are seeing some good golf from the man. Over the last 24 rounds, he's 5th in the field strokes gained total. And someone that used to be a very good iron player and ball striker is still 21st in the field. But the last 24 rounds, he's 7th in the field in putting, which is his best strokes gained metric. That's something I'd never thought I'd say about Emiliano Grillo, but here we are. So he's $10,100. He is 25 to 1 at wherever the hell we bet him. I think DraftKings. So that might or might not be there. But if you want to get the best numbers, follow me on Twitter at the Model Maniac, and you will see those Photoshops make their way out there on Monday morning. But we love Grillo. We love what he can get up to. The podcast is named after him, the 2nd annual Backyard Grillo at the Sanderson Farms. The putting, it's getting better. Like if you take a look at the Bermuda putting, which we probably saw towards the beginning of the season, his stats aren't necessarily the very best. And that's probably why we're seeing some disparaging numbers here. if we go to the model and let's just see, just because you know what, ADD is kicking in. Let's see if we can find our all sorts of stuff here. Ooh, we're getting sidetracked. Let's get rid of some putting from recent situations and just do the last 24 rounds and see what happens. So we're going to add another 14% there. So we've got 15% total putting. And let's see what happens to Emiliano Grillo's metrics as we go along. Emiliano Grillo, bang, bang, bang. Let's see. What is looking with Gree? 6th in the field still. Interesting. 9th in the field. That doesn't make any sense. Makes 0 sense. He's one of the best putters. So disregard that. We'll just kind of pretend that that just never happened. Not entirely sure what's going on there. So you probably check that part of the model out. But we'll add it back like it was and see how everything goes. All right. Sorry about that. We're getting so sidetracked once again. We're talking about Emiliano Grillo. Yeah, at the Grillo. I love what he can get up to. The course history here, pretty freaking solid for G-Man. 17th in the field. Played pretty nicely here. Like we said, he kind of blew it up down the stretch. But this year, he's going to continue and finish all 72 holes strong and win it for us. We really like what he can do. The putting has been great. We've seen what putting needs to take place at this venue, and he can absolutely do that. So sign us up for G. Solid on approach. Pretty solid from 150 to 200. Not necessarily the best wedge player in the entire world, but he's very, very good in general. So we'll see what he can get up to. I love what Grillo's capable of. He's been in the mix. He won at the Charles Schwab Challenge. He knows how to win these tournaments. He's not scared of the moment. And let's take a quick look at his scoring averages as the weekend goes by. So, yeah, he kind of dominates in round 1. And then, you know, in round 4, gets to 11. So that's what Grillo gets up to. And, you know, round 2, round 3, he needs to kind of put his foot on the gas and keep that rolling, because that's typically where he gets a little behind on the strokes gain side of things. So expect him to play well in round 1, potentially even put him in a situation where we can see ourselves playing him in a first round leader situation. So yeah, Mrs. Maniac just got home and the dogs are crazy. So off we go down to Bo Hassler, who is got a very similar profile to Ludwig Eber. If you take a look at the pressure cooked situation that we find him in, round 1 and round 2, 78th and 89th in strokes gained. Round 2 and round 4 is 4th and 9th. So 71. Round 1 and round 3, he's way the hell down, way below the bottom of the barrel. And then rounds 2 and round 4, the guy balls out. So not necessarily the fastest starter and doesn't like himself a round 1 or a round 3, but boy, oh boy, can he get going. So we'll see what old Bo can get up to. Definitely going to play him in round 2 showdown and round 4 showdown. But I don't necessarily think he's a candidate for us, especially with 0 top 10s. The guy's just a mental case. So we'll see what he can get up to. But in fact, I don't think I've updated that. Let's go take a quick peek. We're going to go flying through all the models again here real quick while we try and find some finishing positions. I think I've got to figure this out. Just want to make sure that we have the right stuff. Oh, yeah, we go. Did not update this. So let's go back to this and hit the up. We don't have the one that's necessary to be open. Oh, boy. All right. Give me 2 seconds, folks. We are going to vamp here for 30 seconds while we update these, because I don't think we've got the correct percentages. You know, we got the Fortinet challenge in there, and maybe that changes some guys' stuff up a little bit. So we're going to open up the vault, potentially crash the whole freaking podcast, but, you know, you got to risk it for the biscuit at times and go from there. All righty. So let's take a peek here. We're pulling this bad boy up and see where the vault takes us. Sanderson Farms, refresh this puppy so we can find out exactly where Bo Hassler does his thing. While we're at it, we can take a look at the bottom of the barrel for Country Club of Austin. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so now we can refresh our pivot over here. Make sure that number at the top changes up a little bit. It did not do that. So we'll see what happens, but maybe we changed our thing. So moving on swiftly, once this stupid Excel stops spinning on me, and we'll get back to what we were really talking about here. because this is the important stuff. We want to talk about Bo. We want to talk about what he gets up to. Still doesn't look like it updated his stuff. So potentially the guy's just got zero top 10 capacity. So we're going to leave him alone and scoot on down the board. Adam Svensson, on the other hand, also just he's one of these guys that just cannot seem to get it going for all 4 rounds. There's one round, a tournament, that he kind of ejects himself out of the mix, despite being a really solid ball striker lately. Adam Svensson's been fantastic in that department. But look at this. Plays fantastic golf in round 1, round 2, and then round 3 and 4, just disastrous stuff. Cannot seem to finish out the tournament, and you want that in a golfer that's going to be betting an outright on, right? You don't want to have a guy that's, I didn't even know how he landed up winning the RSM with that kind of a weekend performances. How did he win that thing? So we'll see what's going on and go from there. Keith Mitchell, I think I've heard his name quite a few times, hasn't necessarily played the best golf at this golf course, but boy, oh boy, he's a good driver of the golf ball, and the rest of his game is pretty much mid, like the kids say these days. So we'll see what Keith can get up to at $9,900. I'm not necessarily thrilled about him at that price tag, but with that kind of ownership, I'm expecting Keith probably to be in single figures. I mean, there's nothing really like why is he doesn't make any sense. Why on earth is Keith Mitchell the fifth most expensive golfer in the field? Like, that doesn't make any sense considering he's got the 16th best or 15th best recent form. He's not a very good iron player, and his putting, which is typically his go-to thing, is not even that good right now. So we'll leave Keith Mitchell alone, even though the model kind of fancies him. There's not a lot to go off here. You know, the good shot rates from 150 to 200, pretty good. He hits a lot of good shots, it seems, I guess. So that's good. That's going to help you. But the bad shots are not good. And he does hit a lot of those too. What does Killer Keith get up to over the weekend? You know, the bogey avoidance is pretty solid, but the birdie percentages, 35th in the field, not ideal, you know, considering we need guys that are absolute beasts in that department. Granted, Emiliano Grillo is also 35th, but we know what he can get up to. We know how good of a putter he can be. So that's what's cooking over here. But Keith Mitchell, friends, also look at this. Things kind of round 1, 6th, round 2, 20th, 59th, and then 72nd. The strokes gained average for Keith Mitchell gets worse as the tournament goes on. That's not ideal. So we're out on Keith. Potentially play him in round 1 as a first-round leader candidate or showdown. Alex Smalley at $8,900. He's also very, very interesting when it comes to the ball striking repertoire that he presents. Easy golf course scoring. He's second in the field. Strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. He's 4th in the field, so that's very nice to see. Very solid from 150 to 200 when it comes to good shots. Good shots, remember, half a stroke gain on a single approach shot is a good shot. So he does that quite regularly, and freaking Alex Smalley does his thing. But the further over we scroll over here, things get dodgy. Look at this Bermuda putting. Look at the putting in general. All very nasty. The best number you can find there on any putting metric for him is 77th, with the other 3 all in the hundreds. So it's not very good for Alex Smalley on Bermuda. At a putting tournament, at a putting fest, that's not going to be good. You know, the bogey avoidance is amazing. Obviously, the ball striking is right up there. But when it comes to making birdies, he's okay, but it's just not what you're looking for. So the first round for Alex Smalley also 112th. Holy cow. So maybe if you are looking to bet Alex Smalley, you could get a better number on him after round 1, potentially even after round 2. We'll see what he can get up to. You know, round 3 is an absolute smash playing showdown, and off we go. My neighbor's mowing his lawn, and just this podcast is in absolute shambles pretty much ever since we started. But that's okay. It is what it is. It's day 2 at work, and, you know, it is the light bulbs flickering. Just things happen, folks. You can't control everything that you get up to. So Garrick Higo is next up, 11th in the model. Played fantastic golf here once or twice in his career. Off the tee, he's 12th in the field. Approach play, 98th over the last 24 rounds. Around the green, he's also 98th, so that's not ideal. He bombs it, 20th in distance. Very, very nice stuff there. Off the tee, as you can see on the long golf courses, he's 8th off the tee in strokes gained. The putting stuff is not ideal. You know, Bermuda putting for old Higgy is 120th or 113th. Not very, very good. 26th in birdie or better rates in recent times, and 28th when it comes to baseline. Also, the par 5 scoring with someone with his length, very good in 10th there. So his thing is he just struggles. Gets going in round one, kind of starts going backwards round two, gets to the middle of the pack in round three, and then fights back on Sunday. So that's going to be how Higo goes when it comes to round scoring averages. We're not necessarily going to see him thrive under pressure. So that's the case. That's the situation. It's a problem. We didn't even speak about Emiliano Grillo with a top 20 bet either, folks. Bet365 has got him for plus 145 for a top 20. So love that for Grillo. Let's see if that even kicks out as a value for us. No, it does not. Ooh, interesting. So we may not even be playing Emiliano Grillo when it comes to a top 20 market. Now, Steven Yeager, on the other hand, is a potential candidate for that situation. Plus 115 is also not necessarily the very best in the situation in the world, is it? Yep, doesn't kick out as any value there. So we're going to go with Sam Ryder and Eric Cole to start off with. Gary Higo for a top 20 year. I don't know, friends. The 13% isn't quite what we're looking for. Ideally, in this kind of a field, you want in the 20s and moving on. So we'll leave him alone, but he's not a bad DFS play. We'll see what people talk about, see how much other podcasts speak about him to see what that ownership gets up to. But I don't see him being very popular. I do think he's a solid play when it comes to a little bit of course history angle and birdie making ability. I have heard Ben Griffin's name quite a few times, and then we see what cooks from there. But recent form is 16th in the field. Just does everything pretty nice outside of off the tee, which we saw again. The accuracy is not quite there considering you need that, but he can scramble his face off. 16th in the field in strokes gained from 100 to 150, and then he's 9th in the field when he misses the fairway from 150 and in. So very, very nice stuff there to see from the Griff man. Around the green play, typically very, very solid for him. And then he putts very nicely on Bermuda. So maybe Ben Griffin is a guy we want to lean on going into this week. He's typically a solid birdie maker because that short game can absolutely fire up at any moment. Plays pretty solid in all 4 rounds outside of round 3, with all 3 of them, round 1, round 2, round 4, sitting inside the top 30. So I like Ben Griffin a lot. The top 10 problem is a problem. I mean, how has he not finished inside the top 10 in a casual 22 starts, right? So you need some confidence in a guy. You need to see him doing his thing. In a field like this, I don't necessarily think that's going to be available to him, but off we go. So Kevin Hughes next up, and we had to model him backwards a bit because he's a ball striking beast. 10th in the field in recent ball striking. His numbers are pretty sick when it comes to approach play. 150th to one from 100 to 200. Wow. From 150 to 200, 7th in the field in good shot rate. So he absolutely dials it in. But when it comes to putting and around the green play, boy, oh boy, is it a disaster. So leave Kevin Hughes alone when it comes to that situation. He's also just all over the place when it comes to round scoring. Round 2, the guy's obviously pretty solid as he is a casual, boy, oh boy, third, which is kind of nice to see. Tom Hoagie, $8,600. See what he can get up to this week. We know what Tom Hoagie's capable of. Pretty decent top 20 rates, pretty decent top 10 rate for this field. Not necessarily thrilled about how he's been playing lately, considering the guy's name's Tom Hoagie in a field like this, he's $8,600. So at any given moment, he can be the number 1 approach player in the field, which he is in baseline. But the thing is, his long irons are where he does the damage. This golf course doesn't necessarily really lean into his strengths. We can really see him playing good golf from courses that have like 175 and out proximity buckets intensely. The putting for him has been pretty bad, but if you take a look at his putting recently, 11th in the field. So he's moving in the right direction when it comes to the putter, absolutely dominating on the greens lately. And then we go from there. The putting has a great impact on his birdie rates, 15th in the field recently, 3rd in general. So if we get a relaxed and recharged Tom Hoagie, we can expect some stuff. He typically kind of gets his damage done on Friday and Saturday in the 2nd and 3rd round of a tournament, and then kind of moves on from there. He can get a little shaky at times, but I don't mind Tom Hoagie at $8,600, but don't mind him whatsoever. So sign us up for that. Davis Riley cannot chip right now. So we do not want a guy that's in the hundreds when it comes to any sort of key metric. And 106th is just not going to do it for us right now. So we're going to leave him alone. Ryan Palmer, we're not playing in Texas, although the ball striking has been sensational. How does he do on Bermuda putting surfaces? Not necessarily that fantastic, but the baseline is much better. So he actually sees a 32. He's 32nd in the field in improvement when it comes from baseline to Bermuda, which is very intriguing for me. Par 5 scoring for Old Palmer is 4th in the field, which we know is going to be a lot of this week. And then obviously can't close out a tournament at 135th in round 4 scoring average. So on Sundays, the guy gets a little freaky, gets a little freaked out, and completely ejects after becoming the 12th best player in the field on Saturday. So there's a complete different golfer that shows up on Saturday versus Sunday, and that makes for a tough slate. But at $7,000, that's not the worst situation in the world. You never know. Maybe he does have a good Sunday, and off we go. So sign us up for Ryan Palmer, especially on a golf course that's got a lot of par 5s. Nick Hardy's someone I always am a fan of. He does fantastic work when it comes to putting. He's just like Sam Ryder. They've pretty much switched around. At one point, Nick Hardy could not putt whatsoever. Take a look at his recent putting metrics. Yeah, it's 58th and 75 in the field. But when you take a look at his last 24 rounds, it's 4th. I was balling out, doing his thing, used to be one of the best iron players in the field, and now he's 87th. So I don't know what to make of Nick Hardy. He was part of the Davis Riley Nick Hardy squad that won us the Zurich Classic title. But I don't know. I think going to a putting contest, one of the best putters in the field at $7,400 is not a bad option, considering we've had some time off for him to probably work on those irons that we know can play really well. We saw what he could get up to with the irons at one point. The guy made 7 straight birdies at Mayakoba. So put us up for Nick Hardy and the Hardy boys. Take a look at the birdie rate, 6th in the field. That's delightful. The par 5 scoring struggles a bit, but nothing too crazy when it comes to being weird over the weekend or anything like that. So Nick Hardy's a pretty solid option. 17th in the model, $7,400. Absolutely love him. At $7,100, we've got Andrew Novak, one of our favorite golfers in the $7,100 range. Typically he's in the 6K, but this tournament, not necessarily the best situation in the world for talent. So he finds himself in the 7K range. And this guy makes cuts at a 2 out of 3 time clip. Absolutely dominates the cut making at 67%. And it's just because he's a very good around the green player, pretty solid off the tee. So we'll see what he can get up to this week. He typically prefers longer irons into the greens when it comes to strokes gained, but it is what it is. Out of the rough, also from 150 and out, he's very, very good. So maybe he dominates those par 5s, and as you can see, 25th in the field in par 5 scoring and 3rd and 4th for bogey avoidance. So love what Andrew Novak can get up to. Hopefully he can also keep it cooking. 5th in the field in strokes gained in round 1. So maybe we put a first round leader on Andrew Novak. In fact, let's take a quick peek and see what his strokes gained, what his first round leader situation would be. I think Andrew Novak's going to be a live bet for us here, friends, on Back 9 Bets. Andrew Novak for the win when it comes to first round leader at 90-1. Yep, sign us up. Andrew Novak, 90-1 for a first round leader, is the 5th best strokes gainer in round 1 for the 2023 year. And we're going to see what he can get up to. I love what he can do when it comes to just getting feisty and fiery in the round 1 situation. So sign us up for old Novak. Boom. Trevor Cohn, interesting situation here too. This dude is all over the place when it comes to short game, but when it comes to ball striking, he's 13th in the field. He's $6,600. To me, that's a very affordable price tag for someone that's got a very solid tee to green game, essentially. When it comes to the putting and the chipping, boy, oh boy, is it a disaster. That's the price you pay for a $6,600 golfer, though, in this field. So I don't mind Trevor Cohn whatsoever. Top 40 rates are a little wishy-washy, actually. But you never know. These guys coming out of some breaks, they could have been working on their game, potentially recharging the batteries, going from there and seeing what they can do. So Trevor Cohn at $6,600. People leave in the chat because no one wants to talk about Trevor Cohn, so we'll just leave him alone. But it's okay. We're going to talk about a little sneaky player, and he makes tons of birdies usually, dominates on the par 5s, and what does he get up to over the weekend? Not very good in the weekend. So, ooh, boy. But he's not very good in round 1 either. So that's what you're going to get from Trevor Cohn. Hayden Buckley's very, very accurate off the tee. Solid drive of the golf ball. Potentially back from some injury stuff. See what he can get up to. I don't know. We'll kind of leave him alone. I'm kind of getting a little bit bored of this range. I do want to talk about some guys that I've made my bets on before this freaking podcast ends. So we've got some banners that I had reminders for myself for. So we've spoken about Eric Cole, we've spoken about Emiliano Grillo, spoken about Sam Ryder. Let's find ourselves a Quest machine. Peter freaking Quest, $7,400, 54th in the model, 8 starts on the PGA Tour, and he's got a casual 38% T20 rate. So this dude, I feel like, is going to be someone I really look to go after. He played a lot of golf to end the season. I think he just made it onto the PGA Tour at some point and then played as much as he probably could and then kind of just fizzled out. He made, I think, 2 double bogeys to start off the tournament at the 40 net and kind of fought his way all the way back, or made a bogey start and then just went ham for the rest of the holes. So he's pretty solid for us. Off the tee, he's a freak. Hits it a country mile. This distance is incorrect because he's not in the freaking system, because the PGA Tour doesn't have these numbers updated, but it is what it is. So just know that he's a freak show when it comes to long iron play, when it comes to driving distance, when it comes to putting. He's sensational when it comes to putting. 12th in the field in putting department. So we'll see what all the Quest man can do. We've got him at 90-1 to win this tournament. I love what Peter can do. It's all about trying to finish on Sundays now. We've got scoring averages inside the top 20 for rounds 1, 2, and 3, and then it goes all the way to 75th on a Sunday. So hopefully he can keep it rolling as the weekend goes by in a field that's pretty much like a Corn Ferry Tour event in nature, and that's what we're kind of looking for from Peter. We have one more golfer that's going to be way the hell down the board, but we're going to talk about him anyway, because I think he's going to be a superstar at some point. He's too good of a dude to not play good golf. I can't find his name scrolling because I don't know what I'm up to, but his name is Sam I Am, and he's a Bennett machine. 105th in the model, 87th line. So let's take a quick peek at Sam Bennett, because I really, you never know what this guy gets up to. If you take a look at his off the tee game, 7th in the field, the ball striking 31st, and he can putt lights out every now and then. He played pretty nicely at the US Open. This guy plays in big events pretty nicely, and he's also just fresh out of college, kind of like Ludwig Hebert, and does his thing. Not a lot of data available from Sam Bennett's side of things, but he gets it done in the big moments. Like we saw what he got up to at Augusta. We saw what he could get up to at the US Open. So Sam Bennett can absolutely do his thing. I love his upside. I love what he can get up to. 125-1 to win this tournament. Why the hell not? He's a good putter, good ball striker. Let's see what he can do. He's also $7,200. I feel like Sam Bennett's an absolute go-to situation here. Let's do that. Cool. And then we're going to just kind of filter by the salaries here and see what's going on and see if any rankings pop out as we go down the board. Cage Lee, I know Tambo and Kenny were talking about him, so we'll see what they get up to, but I'm not necessarily thrilled about what he's doing these days, but you could find yourself some serious ownership leverage on a guy that's not necessarily in the best form, but some way mispriced at $8,700 considering all those other things. Mark Hubbard is a dude that we kind of want to talk about too. One of the best ball strikers in the field. Also a very good wedge player. If you take a look at what his strokes gained are from the fairway, he's 14th in the field, 3rd in the field from 150 to 200 when it comes to good shot rate. So we know he's going to be dialing it in anywhere between 100 and 200 yards, which this golf course very much demands. Base putting, Bermuda putting, pretty much the same situation. Nothing thrilling there. Not very good on his part ever. It's okay, you know. Round 1 scoring for the Hubster. This is Alex Smalley we're talking about. So we want to go back to Mark Hubbard. Same thing. He actually putts worse on Bermuda grass. So that's what you're going to get from Mark Hubbard. Not ideal, but when it comes to, you know, the ball striking, you're still pretty much going to be the same as pretty much Smalley there, even from further away. So I don't mind old Hubby. He's also an awesome follow on Twitter if you are into that kind of thing. The upside ranking, not nearly as good as the safety ranking for him. He has kind of let the cat out the bag as the season ended. Scooting on down the situations here, let's take a look at some salaries inside the 7K range. Brandon Hu is one of these two Hu brothers. They're kind of just flirting with each other pretty much in my rankings and on the salary scale. 21st and 25th in my model for upside. They are the two Wu-Tang clubs. And one of them is a phenomenal putter. Dylan Wu been putting fantastically lately, plays easy courses very nicely. We'll see what he can get up to. He's got himself a few top fives at 5%, top 10 at a 5% clip, whereas Brandon Wu has got top 10s at a 14% clip. So I actually prefer him over Dylan. I think Brandon gets it done a bit more than Dylan does. Dylan kind of also, I'm assuming we're going to see his round 4 scoring is not as ideal as we want. There we go. Round 1, 8th in the field. Round 3, he's the best strokes gainer in round 3. And then when it gets to Sunday, he's 61st in the field. Simple situations, whereas Brandon, who is counterpart, takes a little bit of a slower start at 85th in the field for round 1 and goes 19, 18, and 7 for the next 3 rounds. So that's ideal. You can really see him playing better golf as the weekend goes along, which is exactly what you want. You want your guy coming from behind there where the pressure's not necessarily on as much. You can play your best golf from behind. So we love Brandon Wu. We love what he can do. And he's going to be the guy that we go to instead of Dylan. But Dylan's also pretty much a solid play at $7,600. Love these two Wu brothers. They aren't brothers, but we call them that. So love what they can get up to. Love the Quest man over here in $7,400 range. We love Nick Hardy, as we've said already. Hayden Buckley, if he's healthy, he's very mispriced in this kind of a field. We'll see what he can get up to as well. He's kind of got the same Davis Riley clumsy clutter bananas situation where he can't figure out what he's doing around the greens, but we've seen him dominate on these easier golf courses, seen what he can do when it comes to that kind of situation. Bezzy's now pregnant with his wifey now knocked up. At one point, he was balling out on approach, and that kind of sizzled away. But he is, if you were looking for a range that he thrives from, it's the wedge ranges. Very solid inside 200 yards. Once he gets further than that, his lack of length kind of really nullifies his ability to succeed. So we'll see what he can get up to on the shorter golf course. I think he did play pretty well here to start off last year, and then we'll see what happens. But Bezzy doesn't really get off to the fastest starts, 58th in the field there in that department, and then on Sundays, 53rd. But Saturday is the day you want to bet Bezzy. On Saturdays, he moves up the leaderboard as the 7th best strokes gainer in the field. Someone's also very interesting, Troy Merritt, friends. One of our Twitter friends that interacted with us and was so kind to mention that he does, in fact, have the yips validated by his 125th strokes gained putting over the last while, which is the only area of his game that is very bad. He's 16th off the tee, 21st on approach, and 5th around the greens. Every other area of his game is sensational, yet the putting has let him down drastically. So we'll see what he can get up to on the putting side of things. At some point, that's got to end. And if you land up with a $7,200 Troy Merritt that's putting some solid golf, that's ideal. And I think he started playing better golf recently. In fact, I want to just take a quick peek at Troy Merritt and see how the putter's been getting up to lately, because he's a guy that's really interesting. I mean, those metrics from a ball striking standpoint, from an around the green standpoint, are phenomenal. Guess what, friends? At the Fortinet Championship, he gained putting for the first time since the Charles Schwab. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strokes gained putting losses in between that. So he had a T7 at the Fortinet, on approach, off the tee, and around the greens. He gained in all 4 areas. Troy freaking Merritt, friends. He's going to be awesome. Sign us up for that. I love him this week at $7,200. The upside rating at 38th is ideal too. So the putting, if that putting is fixed, I don't know if Poa had to do with anything, but I'm assuming he's not necessarily that big of a surface guy anyway, based off the fact that he's just been putting bad in general. So give us a good putter. One, maybe he's back. Maybe the putting's back. The rest of the stuff is ideal. So maybe we're going to roll out a lot of Troy Merritt this week. We love Andrew Novak, as we mentioned earlier. Ryan Palmer's not a bad option at $7,000 flat. Harry Hall's a very good putter on Bermuda grass. So sign us up for Harry Hall, who I think's also had some time to kind of relax a little bit. He kind of went off the deep end when it came to the end of the season. See what he can do. What does he get up to over the weekend? I love old Harry when it comes to first-round leader bets. There's 11th in the field, and then as the weekend unfolds, it just crumbles to the ground. So he's $6,900 in a field like this, which isn't terrible. Ben Martin, someone that the model tends to like. I think mainly got to do with the ball striking and the iron play and some really impressive accuracy and good drives percentages. But that's about it. He's pretty solid inside of 150, outside of 150. No, he's pretty solid 150 and out, and okay from 150 and in, 68th in the field there. But the around the green play for old Ben Martin's always been a problem. We'll see what he gets up to, though. We don't mind playing him at $6,800. Take another peek. Yeah, Ryan Gerard, always a guy you want to put in there, especially when it comes to short game wizardry. He's a beast when it comes to all of that, and just does all sorts of random stuff when it comes to approach play. Trevor Cohn, we spoke about. Love what he can get up to. Aaron Badley's not in the field anymore. Kevin Roy, interesting safety situation there. Satoshi Kodaira, also someone that we don't mind mentioning. I'm just kind of rattling off some cheapies here. Sung Kang. This dude's done some weird stuff. The approach play for Sung Kang is not too shabby. For a guy that's $6,200, Sung Kang can get it, gang. Sung Kang gang. Look at what he can. I don't know about these putting stats here, but he seems to putt better on Bermuda. So Sung Kang at $6,200, definitely in play. Yeah. Top 40 rate for his 8 starts. He's finished inside the top 40 once or twice and inside the top 20 once. So love what you can get from Sung Kang at $6,200. I think he's a solid play in this department, especially at this price in a field like this. So just putting that out there for you. If you want to nibble on that, feel free to nibble on some Sung Kang and see where it takes you. And that's about it, friends. A very catastrophic. Look at this. It's pitch black in the office because the light bulbs are flickering. The Maniac's coming. Mrs. Maniac's coming home, and the guy's mowing the yard outside. But it is what it is. Back 976. Back 9 Bets, episode 76 in the books. Thanks for tuning in. I see you just in the chat. Jump onto the beginning. Give it a like. Give it a subscribe. Appreciate you for being here. We'll catch you guys next time for whatever tournament that is, but we are cruising through this fall swing, folks. We are not stopping. We are doing our thing, and it's going to be glorious. So we'll catch y'all next time on Back 9 Bets, baby.